Ramadan Mubarak! And we are diving into transforming my journal with Tawakuul and how writing to Allah has changed everything for me. I wanted to preface this by saying that the only way that I'm able to do these videos right now, and the only way that I'm able to have this ambition and have this drive, is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, I have been trying to do YouTube for the last 2 years, honestly. Like, I've been really like trying to push myself to record videos and put them up there, but every time I recorded, I was never proud of what I did. I was never proud of what I was talking about. And now starting off my YouTube journey with something as important as this, something that can really change people's perspectives about Islam and about how to go about it, and mental health and psychology. Like, I'm a social worker, if you didn't know. Now you know. I'm a student of psychology. I am a counselor, and throughout life I've been handed a lot of lessons, and with those it's always been hand in hand with Islam. You know, like, I always say that if I didn't have Islam, I don't know where I'd be in life today. Super personal, and just connect with you guys on something that I've struggled with for a very long time, just so that you guys can get to know me a little better, and so that we can connect on something if you were also struggling with it, or if you know somebody that's been struggling with it and you want to give them a little tip. Okay, now this doesn't mean to run away if you're not Muslim. Please stay. I encourage you to stay. I want you to stay. The only way that we're able to honestly get to know other people and to truly get different perspectives is by listening, you know? So listen to my story, listen to how I've changed my life and how I've transformed my relationship with Allah, how I've transformed my relationship with God, and maybe this can help you feel a little less alone. Okay, so I have my notes on my lappy top right here. If you see me like looking down here and there, it's just because I have ADHD, okay? I want to make sure that I get everything that I want to say out there, and I want to make sure that every point is made and every point is clear and correct, all right? Because when we're talking about Islam, and when we're talking about Allah, and we're talking about the Quran and the Hadiths and the Sunnah, you have to be very, very clear and concise on what you're talking about, because what I say, you can go and you can tell 100,000 people, and then you can be spreading misinformation, and that all of those come back to me. So I want to make sure that I'm as correct as possible. So forgive me if I look down here and there, but I just want to make sure that I get everything right. When you're studying psychology and you're studying to be a social worker, be a psychotherapist, they always hand you tools on what to suggest to clients. And one of these tools is journaling. We're told like journaling is an amazing tool to bring clarity of thought, for emotional release, for creativity, and so much more. For years I tried to make it a habit. I tried really hard. I bought multiple journals. I bought aesthetically cute journals, and I realized that the only thing that didn't change between me getting new journals and me deciding to start new ones and every single time not being able to do it, the one thing that all those journals had in common is that every time I reached for my journal, it ended up being because I needed a session to essentially talk bad about myself, okay? I needed a negative self-talk and self-criticism session. Like, instead of feeling uplifted after I would journal, I felt worse. It was disheartening. Like, and I just couldn't understand why something that was so revered and something that was so suggested and so recommended was so difficult for me to do properly. I knew I wasn't journaling right. I knew for a fact that this is not how I'm supposed to feel after I journal. I should feel like a weight is off my shoulders. I should feel light on my feet. Like, I should feel like my heart is a little bit lighter. And every single time after I finished journaling, it was a little bit heavier. And I couldn't figure out why. Why something I was suggesting for clients to use as a tool, I could not enjoy myself, until I realized I needed to change who I was speaking to. I realized that I needed to change who I was talking to in my journals. I realized that speaking to myself when I was down bad, it wasn't fixing anything. It wasn't fixing anything. Because everybody knows, everybody says that we are our own worst critic. And I would dog myself over and over and over, and I would write down things and call myself names that I wouldn't even call people out loud, and they could have done the foulest things to me. But the transformation began when I decided to change my approach. And instead of journaling to myself, I started writing to Allah. With each entry, I began by invoking one of his 99 names, you know, and this immediately set a tone of reverence, of respect, of love, of peace, and the simple shift in perspective literally changed everything. Like, literally changed everything. My handwriting changed because I realized who I was speaking to. Writing to God opened my heart in ways that I couldn't even imagine, in ways that I hadn't even anticipated. It became a conversation with the most merciful, the all-knowing. And instead of spiraling into negativity, I found myself expressing gratitude. I found myself seeking guidance. I found myself laying down my worries on those pieces of paper in a way that I've never done before. I had a sense of trust that I've never had before. My tone softened, my heart relaxed. Like, I realized that I felt this sense of security and I felt a sense of safety while writing to God because I could trust God, and I knew that I could trust God. I couldn't trust myself, and that was the issue with journaling to myself and writing to myself. I couldn't trust myself to not be emotional. I couldn't trust myself to do the right things even if it hurt. I couldn't trust myself to do what was best for me, but I could trust Allah. I could trust God to guide me on the right path, to be there when I needed Him, to be my center. I knew that God could be the one source of stability that I had in this life. This completely changed how I was viewing my challenges and my blessings. Like, it became a spiritual practice in a way, like not in a ritualistic approach. It was more of a daily check-in with myself, you know, and a daily check-in with my Creator. And this is where I found comfort, and this is where I found guidance by using a tool that was once something that I was scared of doing because of how harsh I knew that I could be. Switching tones and switching who I was talking to changed everything. It absolutely changed everything for me. By starting each entry with one of Allah's names, it helped remind me of His attributes and the attribute that I needed in that moment, the attribute that I wanted Him to be in that moment. So, Ya Rahman, O most merciful, immediately reminded me of Allah's mercy, and it encouraged me to be gentle with myself and have mercy on myself. Ya Razaq, O provider. It reinforced my trust in Allah's provisions when I'm anxious about the future. Like, sometimes you just be a little broke. Like, sometimes you don't know where your next dollar is coming from. Sometimes that check doesn't clear for 3 weeks. Sometimes that job just let you go and you don't know how you're going to be getting paid or taking care of your family or taking care of your bills and your responsibilities. And this practice has helped me feel more grounded in my faith and positive about what the outcome is going to be, because I know that either way the outcome is meant for me, you know? This approach to journaling not only deepened my connection with Allah and it helped me understand the power of turning to Him in all aspects, but it has also significantly improved my mental health. Like, turning what was once a source of stress into a healing practice for me, healing source of self-care. My journal has become a sacred space for me, like in the terms of reflection, in the terms of gratitude, in the terms of personal growth. Like, I encourage you, if you've struggled with journaling or you're looking for a way to open up another way for you to connect, to try this approach. Speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use it as a space to express yourself, express your fears, express your dreams. Let it be a means of drawing yourself closer to Him. Because in Islam, we put importance on tawakkul. Having tawakkul in Allah has only further proved for me that I can't rely on anyone in this world. I can't even rely on myself. I can't even trust myself. But I can rely on Al-Ghafar, the great forgiver. I can rely on Al-Latif, the subtle one, the most gentle. I can rely on Al-Wadud, the most loving. Having tawakkul is having trust and reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And tawakkul is literally amongst one of the greatest acts of worship along this path. And it's one that's required of us. The benefits of tawakkul are many. Among them, that you hand over to Allah that which burdens your heart and burdens your mind. And you need to realize that you are not broken, abandoned, or forgotten, but that Allah has actually given you exactly what you need. Knowing this, the believer acknowledges with certainty and confidence: my success is not but through Allah. Upon Him I have relied, and to Him I return. There's a verse in the Quran that a lot of us have misinterpreted, or, okay, I'm not going to speak for all of us, absolutely not, astaghfirullah, but when I was younger and I was less knowledgeable and I was not like, I was always a very literal kid, you know, like you had to explain things like black and white, like to the T for me to be able to understand it. That's just how my brain always worked. So it's a verse that I've been hearing since I was a little kid, and it's something that I didn't read into properly. So the verse goes as follows: فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. So surely with hardship comes ease. And then it's repeated again, إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Surely with that hardship comes more ease. And a little backstory on when this verse was revealed. This verse was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, and this surah aims to comfort and uplift him, peace be upon him. And before Rasulullah ﷺ was called to prophethood, he led a life that didn't prepare him for the challenges that he would face after he began to spread the word of and the message of Islam ﷺ. Like this marked a significant change in his life ﷺ. It was a bit of a revolution of sorts. It was a bit of a revolution that Rasulullah ﷺ hadn't anticipated. And as soon as Rasulullah ﷺ started his mission, the very society that had once held him at such a high regard, they all turned against him. The relatives, the friends, the neighbors who had shown Rasulullah ﷺ nothing but respect, they now were throwing insults and disdain his way, and suddenly no one in Mecca wanted to hear him. Suddenly no one in Mecca wanted to hear Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's message. He was ridiculed, he was mocked publicly, facing obstacles at every single turn. And yes, gradually, though Rasulullah ﷺ grew accustomed to even harsher trials, the initial phase, the initial beginning was particularly disheartening. It hurt. And Allah saw that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala noticed it and saw it and knew that it was going to happen. This is why Surah Duha was revealed first to offer solace and peace. It was followed by this surah that I just mentioned, which provided continued support and encouragement. And I need us to really delve into the fact that the verse does not state after hardship comes ease. It's so normal for us to just go automatically to the idea that once this is done, I'm gonna get better. Once this is done, the situation is gonna get better, my life is gonna get better. It just gives me a sense of comfort in knowing that although I have lost a lot and I have faced a lot of obstacles that in the moment I felt like I was not gonna be able to make it through, I can find peace in knowing that whatever comes my way was ordained to come my way because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that I can handle it. Which is what brings us back to the importance of journaling to God this Ramadan. Besides ourselves, like, do not journal to yourself. I encourage you, if you've struggled with journaling, if you are looking for a way to deepen your spiritual practice, even if you're not Muslim, if you're just looking a way to deepen it, speak to God in your journal. Use it as a space to express your fears, your hopes, your gratitude, your dreams. Let it be a means of drawing you closer to him. Journaling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fundamentally, absolutely rocked my world on self-reflection. It's a reminder that he's always listening. It's a reminder that he's always seeing. And it's a reminder that he's always understanding and always willing to guide us through his infinite mercy and wisdom. Make it a point this Ramadan to write to Allah. Make it a point this month to transform the way that you speak to yourself. Make it a point this month to focus on the relationships that truly matter and focus on ways in which you can strengthen your relationships with not only yourself, but with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I love you.